Oh, do. Alrighty, we are live. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitz TV here, aka G133. I am back here tonight with the Legit Shoot podcast. I gotta fix my hair real quick. But anyway, yes, this is the Legit Shoot podcast here with your Monday Night Raw review and results for July 27th, 2020. Thank you guys so much for once again joining me right here on the channel. Hopefully you guys had a good day. And you guys can already tell by the title, the only real good thing that came out of, two good things came out of Monday Night Raw. We finally got the setup for Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we're going to start off with the Legit Shoot, all right? Or the opening shoot. I messed up the name there, but you guys know this is where I talk about and focus on something that happened on tonight's show, to open up the podcast. And clearly you guys know this is a pro Sasha Banks channel. I'm one of the biggest Sasha Banks fans in the community, and we have to talk about what happened. Sasha Banks is officially 2 belts Banks. She is the first ever 5-time Raw Women's Champion in WWE history, which is kind of surprising when you think about it, but she's now officially in WWE's history books an 8-time women's champion. And Sasha and Bayley's conquest of WWE to capture all the gold is complete, and I am very happy, but I also have a couple of issues with this. And don't get me wrong, I'm very happy that Sasha Banks is champion. This is the direction WWE should be going in, especially because the overall story, the bigger story in the future is going to be Sasha Banks and Bayley. But it's going to be very interesting to see how WWE does this, because, as happy as I am with Sasha Banks becoming Raw Women's Champion, there is something I am concerned about. We have SummerSlam coming in a couple weeks. With what happened tonight, we could be seeing another match between Sasha Banks and Asuka, right? If I'm WWE, I wouldn't go down that direction, but that's what could be happening. And you guys know there's one thing that has always pissed me off, especially when it comes to Sasha Banks on the main roster. She has never been able to successfully defend a singles championship on the main roster. In NXT, she was able to defend the NXT Women's Champion successfully many times. She's been able to successfully defend the Women's Tag Team titles with Bayley many times over the last couple of months, but she has never been able to successfully defend a singles title on the main roster. She lost to Charlotte Flair 3 times. She lost to Alexa Bliss in her first defense the last time she was Raw Women's Champion. Could that happen at SummerSlam if Sasha actually defends the Raw Women's Championship? Because if WWE goes down my direction, I would even have Sasha or Bayley defend their singles championships at SummerSlam. I would actually have them defend their women's tag team championships at SummerSlam. But I am going to be making a separate video, probably coming out Wednesday, most likely maybe tomorrow, but most likely Wednesday. I'm going to be putting out a video discussing how you should book Sasha Banks as 2 belts Banks. All right, because there's so many different feuds and things they can go, and hopefully WWE, actually listens to my advice. They probably won't because they're idiotic, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm concerned because I don't want to see Sasha lose another singles title in her first defense. She's the best female wrestler in the world, and Sasha and Bayley have continued to carry this company on their backs throughout this pandemic, right? And you rewarded Sasha with the Raw Women's Championship tonight. Do not go back on it. Don't have Asuka or Charlotte or somebody else take that title from Sasha in her first title defense. And if you want to take the tag titles off Sasha and Bayley now, that's fine. But taking the Raw Women's Championship off of Sasha would be the worst thing to do, especially with current circumstances. So if you guys agree with me on that, make sure to leave a like on the video right now. I see we have people in the stream. If you guys are watching via the stream, thank you guys for joining me. If you guys are watching on demand, thank you guys for joining me. It doesn't matter. Your guys' support means the world no matter how you guys are listening. But Sasha Banks is officially Raw Women's Champion, and I am very happy. And for people that are complaining on social media that Sasha Banks is the Raw Women's Champion, you guys have to be the dumbest fucks in the community. You really do. I just said that Sasha Banks and Bayley have been carrying this company on their back. When you really look back, when things get back to normal, when we start having live crowds again, and we look back at this pandemic era, yes, I hate it. Yes, I hate that we have performance center shows. Because WWE just doesn't feel the same. Wrestling does not feel the same without fans in attendance. You can do NBA, you can do NFL, you can do MLB, NASCAR, and all these other sports without fans. And it won't affect the product as much. But wrestling, the fans basically are the most important thing when it comes to the sport. And I feel like this pandemic has showed that to all of us. Wrestling just doesn't feel the same. It just doesn't feel the same. They make everything important. And, when we look back at this pandemic era, we're going to look at people like, Randy Orton and MVP and Bobby Lashley and Sasha Banks and Bayley. And we're going to remember what they did during this pandemic era. They were the people that carried and got WWE through these times. Because, like I said, we don't know when things are going to get back to normal. But those superstars that I just mentioned have stepped up more than anybody else. While people like Becky Lynch, she's pregnant, and Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns, they're sitting at home. Yes, they want to be safe. They don't want to get their families, at risk or anything like that. But at the end of the day, they decided to go at home. That's their decision, and I respect them for it. But at the end of the day, like I said, it was their decision. Nobody forced them. They made their choices for themselves. Sasha Banks and Bayley, Randy Orton, MVP, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, they don't have to be there. WWE said when this all started, you would not be hurt or punished if you made that decision to stay at home. But they decided to stay. They decided to continue working through this pandemic, and they have been the MVPs of this Performance Center era. So yes, I love Asuka. You guys know this. But you guys know I also love Sasha Banks more than any other superstar in that company. You guys know I say this every single podcast. She is the best female wrestler in the world, and it's not even close. It is not even close. And basically what she's been doing, with what her and Bayley have been doing since this started back in March up to now as we're entering August, with what they've been doing, Sasha Banks deserved to be champion. All right, I love Asuka, but if you look at the body of work that Sasha Banks has been doing, there is no doubt in my mind that she deserves to be Raw Women's Champion. And it's not like Sasha's gonna, as long as Sasha holds that title, she's gonna elevate it. She's the best female performer in the world. She's great at what she does. And what you put her in, if WWE books her correctly, and when like I said, I'm gonna make a video discussing this later this week. But if you put her in great feuds with like the Shayna Baszler, you're seeing that with Asuka right now. You have her go up against Bianca Belair, and there's other names you could bring into the fold, right? If you put her in great matches, great feuds, things we can get behind, she's gonna elevate that Raw Women's Championship. Yes, they made Asuka look stupid because, yes, Asuka, she wanted to go help her best friend Kairi Sane, right? But at the end of the day, she decided to sacrifice the Raw Women's Championship just to go check on Kairi. And then at the end of the day, WWE is atrocious for doing this. All right? WWE does this all the time. They never know how to book their baby faces. They don't. They make their baby faces look like idiots almost 95% of the time. And that's on WWE. That's on WWE. All right? I don't know what you do with Sasha Banks going to SummerSlam. I don't know. You could do another match with Asuka. It would probably make the most sense since you don't have anybody else lined up at the moment. But like I said, if you are sitting on Twitter or social media, if you're complaining that Sasha Banks is the Raw Women's Champion, you are a dumb fucking idiot. I do not care. You cannot look at the body of work that Sasha Banks and Bayley have been performing and not say Sasha doesn't deserve to be Raw Women's Champion. Sasha has sat back while people like Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, hell, friggin' Nia Jax have all been Raw Women's Champion. While she is way better than all of them combined. Sasha never goes on social media or goes on interviews and complains. She just keeps grinding and grinding and grinding. And now she is finally getting what she deserves. Yes, I am worried that this is only going to last for a couple weeks. I am worried about that. I hope I am wrong. But if WWE does what I say they should do by booking Sasha Banks the right way as Two Belts Banks, the right way as Raw Women's Champion, it's going to elevate the Raw Women's division. And like I said, this is all a setup for the bigger story. Sasha Banks and Bayley. Everything you're seeing right now should lead to Sasha Banks and Bayley at WrestleMania next year, hopefully in front of a live crowd, no matter if that's in LA or Tampa or wherever. Like I said, if you have a problem with Sasha Banks being Raw Women's Champion, you should not be watching the product. You are the problem with WWE fans in 2020. You don't understand how storytelling works. You don't understand how this business works. Like I said, remember, originally, if we did not have this pandemic, Sasha Banks would be babyface right now, and she would be preparing to go into SummerSlam inside the TD Garden in her hometown of Boston to challenge Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. That was the original plan before this pandemic. The pandemic changed everything. And when Sasha Banks and Bayley won the Women's Tag Team titles and the way they have elevated those Tag Team Championships over the last couple months, it would have made no sense to break them up this quickly. I said this last week. The only way I could see them doing Sasha Banks and Bayley at SummerSlam at this point is if they did heel versus heel. That was the only way they could have done this. Only way. And I'm so happy they didn't, because at the end of the day, this is the right decision. And like I said, everything you're seeing right now will lead to Sasha Banks and Bayley, hopefully at WrestleMania next year. What? If you had Asuka win tonight, right? That squashes most of Sasha's momentum. And where's Sasha going to go? You're going to have her go right back to being Bayley's lackey? Really? You're going to have her right back to being, she'll still be a tag team champion, but you're going to have her right back to where she's been the last year. Everyone knows Sasha doesn't deserve that. Yes, even though Sasha and Bayley are a great combo together, nobody wants to see Sasha Banks as Bayley's lackey. Nobody wants to see that. This was the right decision. And Sasha, if they book this correctly, and I don't trust Fitz, but I pray that somebody has a brain cell. Because remember, before, a couple of days ago, it was stated that Asuka was going to face Shayna Baszler. But Sasha is so good, they had to change plans. And this was the right decision. Like I said, I'm not going to go into how they should book Sasha's title reign. The only thing I'm going to say is have her go up against Bianca Belair. Have her go up against Shayna Baszler. And there's other names. Have her go up against a Liv Morgan and a Ruby Riott. Sasha will elevate the Raw Women's title. She will elevate all those names and make them look like bigger stars coming out of those matches. All you have to do is book her correctly. And I have to believe that Sasha and Bayley have some say in the way this story goes. They have to. There's no way they don't. All right? Sasha Banks is not selfish. She's not like Charlotte. She's not like an Alexa Bliss. She's not like Lacey Evans, who only cares about themselves. Sasha Banks is going to do everything to elevate that women's division, elevate that Raw Women's title, while also building up her story with Bayley. And then when Sasha eventually drops that Raw Women's title, no matter if it's to a Bianca Belair or a Shayna Baszler, hopefully near the end of this year, it's going to leave the women's division altogether in a better place. And that's what's important. So when I make the video later this week, we're going to go ham. It's going to probably be about 30, 40 minutes just me talking about how you book Sasha Banks now as Raw Women's Champion. Because I know if I do that here tonight on the podcast, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. All right? Because you guys know I like to keep these Raw reviews under an hour. And I know I can spend 40 minutes to talk about Sasha Banks. And there's other things we actually need to discuss. Because we are on the road to SummerSlam. Yes, we are on the road to SummerSlam. And we have other things we got to discuss. SummerSlam, the second biggest party of the summer. Or I said that wrong. The biggest party of the summer is 3 weeks away. And we have a lot we got to discuss. We got a lot we got to get through. It doesn't feel like SummerSlam. One, because, the pandemic. Two, because WWE doesn't know how to book their shows correctly outside of a couple people. And it sucks. I read a report earlier today that Vince McMahon wants to do something wacky. He wants to do something wacky for SummerSlam. There's rumors saying that SummerSlam could be held on a boat, could be held at a beach. There's, as much as I would love to see that, the most important thing is, will there be a crowd? What kind of crowd are we looking at? Also, how are you going to keep the wrestlers safe? Because that should take top priority before SummerSlam, before anything. If you do an outdoor event, how are you going to keep your superstars safe? Look at the NBA in Orlando and all the precautions and safety measures they are taking to keep their players safe. If you do go with a SummerSlam something outdoor, because I don't want SummerSlam to be in the Performance Center, but at the end of the day, if you can't keep your superstars safe and you can't ensure, their health coming first, it's better that SummerSlam takes place in the Performance Center than outside. And we got to be honest. So that's going to be very interesting. But either way, I want them to do something different for SummerSlam this year. Hopefully it's something cool outdoors. But I want the safety of the superstars to come first. So we're going to talk about it. We're actually about 4 weeks away from SummerSlam, but we only have 3 weeks left of build. And I see somebody, Kevin Abreu in the chat says, I'm wrong. What the fuck am I wrong about, bro? Like, I respect everybody, but what the fuck am I wrong about? Like I said, if you have a problem with Sasha Banks being Raw Women's Champion, then you are one of the problems with this community. I speak pure facts on this podcast every single week. If WWE followed what I said on this podcast every single week, they wouldn't be drawing the lowest ratings in the history of the company. So stop it. Edward Jones says, I want Sasha versus Bayley at SummerSlam. Bro, at this point, yes, but we're not going to get it. We're not going to get it. And I'm fine. If this all leads, everything we're seeing right now with Sasha and Bayley, if this all leads to Sasha versus Bayley at WrestleMania in front of a live crowd, I'm fine with it. Because I'd rather wait a couple more months for us to get Sasha Banks and Bayley in front of a live crowd than see it in front of a performance center full of 10 to 20 people. I gotta be honest at the end of the day. Yes, I want Sasha and Bayley badly, and we've waited long enough. But I'd rather see what we're seeing now on WWE TV than see them rush Sasha Banks and Bayley just to get it on SummerSlam in front of barely anybody inside the Performance Center. Sasha and Bayley deserve the biggest stage possible, and that should be at WrestleMania next year in front of a live crowd, hopefully when things are back to some kind of normal. So I gotta be honest. Thank you, NBA YT. Thank you for agreeing with me, bro. But Simmons, Sasha Banks, the legit boss fan Walker says, how do we eventually get to a Sasha Banks Bayley match feud? I will, like I said, for anybody that has questions about Sasha Banks and Bayley, I will be doing a video later this week on that. And I will tell you how we get to Sasha Banks and Bayley. It's pretty simple, but we have other things we need to talk about. All right. Yes, I agree with you, Edward Jones. Sasha deserves to be champion. She's the best female wrestler in the world. Let's get on to the rest of the show. All right. We'll talk about Sasha Banks and Bayley and Asuka a little bit more once we get to the actual match. But we actually got stuff we got to talk about. So the show started off with Randy Orton. And it was reported, we all knew this. If you look at Monday Night Raw's roster, and this is sad, I gotta be honest, it's sad, but it's facts. It's factual. When you look at the landscape of Monday Night Raw, the only person that has been built up properly enough to the point where they can actually challenge Drew McIntyre for the for the WWE Championship, it's Randy Orton. Would someone in the chat name me any other heels that deserve to face Drew McIntyre? They done Seth Rollins already, so we don't need to see that again. Bobby Lashley, we seen that, so we don't need to see that again. Andrade and Angel Garza are going after the Raw Tag Team Championships, and I can't really think of anybody else. That's how bad WWE is at building stars in 2020. Monday Night Raw's roster is so much more superior than SmackDown's roster. It's crazy when you actually look at it, how much more superior their roster is. But yet you don't have any heels to really challenge Drew McIntyre. Yes, I can think of some baby faces, even though when you look at it in depth, nobody's been properly built up. But Randy Orton is the only logical heel that can go up against Drew McIntyre. Dolph Ziggler should have never faced Drew McIntyre in the first place. That should have never happened. What the fuck has Dolph Ziggler done to deserve a WWE Championship match? They did it because they have nobody else for Drew McIntyre to feud with. And that's WWE's fault. Randy Orton is the only logical choice. What Randy Orton is doing right now is amazing. Even though it's predictable, because I feel like no matter if Randy Orton wins the championship at SummerSlam or at Clash of Champions or Hell in a Cell, because for all we know, Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, they could drag this on for the next 2 or 3 months. We don't know. No matter, this is most likely going to end with Randy Orton becoming WWE Champion. And what most likely will happen is Randy Orton will hold the WWE Championship throughout the rest of the fall and probably into the early next year, even though I want Drew McIntyre to stay WWE Champion until WrestleMania next year. But if you look at it, if you look at the body of work that Randy Orton's doing right now, right? Randy Orton's doing some of the best heel work of his entire career. And he's already a Hall of Famer when you look at what he's done so far. He's doing some of the best work of his career right now. Clearly, you make Randy Orton champion. We know that Edge is probably going to be able to come back till next year. So what happens? Edge will probably win the Royal Rumble, and we will get Randy Orton versus Edge for the WWE Championship, probably in the main event of WrestleMania. With Edge, 10 years, because remember, last time Edge was world champion was in 2011, right? So what? They could build a storyline, Randy Orton versus Edge 3, with Edge trying to become world champion again, 10 years since he won his last world championship. Remember when they did that with The Rock, when he went up against CM Punk back in 2013? They'll probably do the same thing there, and this will end with Edge, the babyface, getting the ultimate payback on Randy Orton at WrestleMania by becoming WWE champion. It's clear. And then I could see WWE probably having Seth Rollins being the one to take the title off Edge, because I still want to see a Seth Rollins and Edge feud, especially with what Seth Rollins is doing right now. But it's pretty clear where WWE is going with this nonsense. It's crazy. It really is. Edward Jones says, I'm so glad Charlotte is gone. I can't stand her ass at all. I don't want to talk about Charlotte on this show, bro. Let's not talk about Charlotte, all right? Please. Anyway. But, like I said, Randy Orton is the only guy that makes any sense to go up against Drew McIntyre. And we already knew this. This was going to happen. It was basically reported this week that they filmed the angle for Orton and McIntyre. I don't know why they had to give us McIntyre and Ziggler in a rematch tonight. That made no logical sense. I ranted on this last week on the podcast, right? And, like I said, the only reason why I'm not going off on this show is kind of because I'm in a good mood because Sasha won. But this show wasn't that very good tonight. It wasn't, awful, but it wasn't that good. The logic gaps. It seems like that's the common theme. The logic gaps every single week with this damn show. But outside of Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre and Sasha Banks and Asuka, the logic gaps on this show, man, it's ridiculous. But Randy Orton opened the show. Randy cut a fantastic promo. He talked about everything he has accomplished in his WWE career, from being in the stables like Evolution and Legacy and The Authority, and how he's won, 13 world championships. He even compared himself to past stars like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm not going to get into that debate, because I believe, me personally, Stone Cold, outside of Sasha Banks, Stone Cold is my favorite WWE superstar of all time. So I don't want to turn this into a Randy Orton versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he said it because, he is a heel, and this was for his promo. Randy Orton said even though he's so happy to be the Legend Killer again, he said that something is missing. And he said that he didn't know what that was until today. He said that he has decided that he wants the WWE title back, and that means going through Drew McIntyre. This was a really great promo, all right? But Randy Orton talked about how Drew has earned his respect after what he did to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. He also had a very funny remark about how Drew McIntyre was so far up his ass 10 years ago that he got himself fired. Randy Orton, man, when Randy Orton is motivated and when he's at the top of his game, there's very few that are better than Randy Orton. I love Randy Orton on the mic. He is so good with promos. One of the best, maybe the best on the main roster when it comes to promo work. But Randy Orton then made the challenge to McIntyre to a title match at SummerSlam. You know, I did see somebody on Twitter, and I kind of agree. It would have been kind of cooler, you know, if Orton like attacked McIntyre, you know, maybe backstage, and you know, and it was like a vicious attack to, you know, set the stage for this match. You know, getting Drew McIntyre all amped up and angry. You know, really bring the intensity to this feud, since this will probably most likely be the main event for SummerSlam, right? Because I don't see the Fiend and Braun Strowman freaking being the main event. It's, you know, and we don't know what's gonna happen with Sasha Banks and Bayley, but it makes sense. It makes sense at the end of the day. But you know, I would have loved to see Orton viciously attack McIntyre, and that's how the foundation for this feud would be set. But, you know, it's whatever. At the end of the day, it's confirmed Orton versus McIntyre at SummerSlam after Orton made the challenge. So Orton left the ring, you know, and like I said, we go from a really good promo. All right. We go from a, Sasha posted something on Twitter. I love it. But, basically, like I said, we go from a fantastic Randy Orton promo to one of the worst female superstars of all time, Nia Jax. I knew that Nia Jax was coming up because Ringside News reported this earlier in the day, and I was like, what the hell? Like, really? Really? This show was actually better without Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax. All right, and the second that it was reported that Nia Jax was coming out tonight, not only did I puke in my mouth, I almost puked even more because I thought that Charlotte was going to be coming back tonight. But it looks like we're not there yet. Thank God. But Nia Jax came out, and I always say this, Nia Jax was out for a year and didn't lose any weight, didn't get any better in the ring. She came back and probably got worse. I don't know what the hell. So, you know, when Nia Jax came out, right, Randy Orton walked by her, and I was just praying. I was praying that Randy Orton would just RKO Nia Jax the same way he did at the Royal Rumble last year. Sadly, we didn't get that. Instead, Nia Jax comes out, and Nia said she also woke up this morning wanting the Raw Women's Championship. Nobody wants Nia Jax anywhere near the Raw Women's or any women's title. Nobody wants Nia Jax near a wrestling ring. She sucks. She is garbage. All right. Anyway, you know, as Nia is going off, Shayna Baszler comes out. And I knew they were going to start this tonight because it was reported that Ringside News that Shayna would be feuding with Nia Jax. And you know, the original plan for SummerSlam was supposed to be Shayna versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. Clearly, those plans have changed, especially with Sasha Banks, which I don't have a problem with. But is Shayna supposed to be a babyface now? What are we doing here? Are you trying to? This is my thing. WWE, the logic gaps here. The logic gaps. Clearly, you know, if it's Shayna Banks versus Nia Jax, I'm gonna vote for Shayna Baszler 10 times out of 10. Why the fuck would anybody cheer for Nia Jax? She's terrible. And Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, their in-ring styles don't combine at all. They don't mix, they don't match at all. They're both very slow workers. Shayna, when she's with the right person, she is fantastic. When she's with an Ember Moon or a Kairi Sane or, you know, an Asuka, she's fantastic. You can't put two slow-paced workers together. And we saw that. Yes, there was great intensity between Nia and Shayna. But you know, this is something I'm not going to get interested in. Plus, is Shayna a babyface now? It was just last week that Shayna was cutting a promo talking about all the WWE champions and how they needed to face the reality of Shayna Baszler. Shayna's clearly a heel. If you want to make Shayna an anti-hero, I can maybe get behind that. But there's no way you're going to really convince me that Shayna's a babyface. There's almost nothing about Shayna's character that screams babyface. But clearly, if you're feuding her with Nia Jax, she's gonna be the babyface. So, I don't know, WWE, logic gap. This is what I'm talking about. Monday Night Raw is full of logic gaps. You're giving me Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. But clearly, both are heels. Unless you're trying to make me believe that Shayna is an anti-hero. It's like Lacey Evans turning heel on SmackDown. No explanation. Logic gap. One week you have Lacey Evans coming out talking about how she stands for America, how she wants to go up against the fight for bullying, and all this other nonsense. But then the next week she's heel. So what? Am I now supposed to start cheering Shayna Baszler going forward because she's feuding with Nia Jax? When legit the week before you had her coming out acting like a full-fledged heel? Like, come on, don't insult my intelligence. This is my problem with this company. So, later on in the show, we had Shayna versus Nia Jax. We're going to talk about it now since we're talking about this anyway. So, basically, the match didn't go 2 minutes. I knew this match was not going to go long. I expected it to go a little bit longer than 2 minutes, but damn. This was terrible. So basically, the only good thing about this was the intensity, because you could see Jax and Baszler, they really wanted to get up each other, but they came to the ring and they just started fighting. They just started brawling. It didn't look that good because Nia sucks. Nia sucks. And like I said, Shayna and Nia. Shayna was great when you put her with the right person, but when you put one slow-paced worker with another slow-paced worker, what sense is that gonna make? What sense is that legit gonna make? I don't want to watch a slow match. I'm not watching Undertaker versus Kane from the Attitude Era, as much as I love the Undertaker. But this is what this reminds me of. I don't want to see this. The only thing this should be doing is elevating Nia Jax. I mean, not Nia. I'm sorry. I want to puke that statement just came out of my mouth. I'm sorry. I apologize, guys. I do. The only thing this should be doing is elevating Shayna Baszler. This should be elevating Shayna Baszler, making her look like a top star. Instead, what happens here, after 2 minutes, it was a double count out because both were fighting outside the ring. All of a sudden, you're throwing out freaking referees and officials, right? You bring out referees and officials to break this up, and then basically, clearly this is going to set up for a bigger match between Nia and Shayna going down the line. But why the hell are we protecting Nia Jax? What is there to protect about Nia Jax? Does nobody understand this? They did this with freaking Nia and Asuka. And they did this with Nia versus Charlotte. What is there to protect about? What is there to protect about Nia Jax? Are we protecting how bad she is in the ring? If you're protecting how bad Nia is in the ring, then maybe she shouldn't be on television. Maybe she shouldn't be in the WWE in general. It's the same shit every time with Nia. We have to protect her. We gotta do some fuck finish or do some disqualification or count out. We can't have Nia lose clean. I don't know why, but it seems like this is the new thing with Nia Jax. Fucking ridiculous, bro. Absolutely ridiculous. Garbage. So bad, man. This has to end with Shayna Baszler going over. And if you want to make Shayna Baszler the anti-hero, fine. But don't insult my intelligence, because last week you had Shayna as a heel. And now all of a sudden it looks like, you're trying to make her babyface. I don't know. But don't insult my intelligence. At least make some kind of explanation to make me want to cheer for Shayna Baszler. I'm going to cheer for her regardless because Nia Jax is that awful. But at least make some logical sense here, guys. Anyway, going back, we had the Viking Raiders versus Ricochet and Cedric Alexander versus Angel Garza and Andrade in a triple threat #1 contenders match to determine who would go up against the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team titles at SummerSlam. You have the Street Profits, they were out there. They announced all three teams. Then there were also special guests on commentary. The match wasn't bad. These are legit the only teams. These three teams plus the Street Profits, they're the only 4 teams in the Raw Tag Team division right now. Like I said, I don't know why WWE just doesn't merge the Raw and SmackDown tag team divisions. I don't know if WWE's waiting because the Undisputed Era should be getting called up any day now. So maybe they're waiting to have the Undisputed Era come up. But hey. But, you know, I thought originally they were going to do something like the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders versus Andrade and Garza in a triple threat match. Because I said this last week. Last week, WWE made the stupid decision to have the Street Profits versus Garza and Andrade. It was a good match, but you basically gave away the match you're planning for SummerSlam last week. So unless you have something crazy planned, you're telling me not to expect anything better from these two teams at SummerSlam. You're probably just going to give us the same exact match we got on Monday Night Raw at SummerSlam. The only difference is there'll be no commercials. But what logical sense does it make? You had the Street Profits beat Garza and Andrade last week clean, right? There was no fuck finish. There was none of that. You had them win clean last week, which should tell me that Garza and Andrade go to the back of the line. But instead, the week after, you have them beat Ricochet and Cedric Alexander and the Viking Raiders to become the number one contenders. What sense does that make? Garza, finished off the match when he hit Alexander with the wing clipper. But what sense does that make? After the bell, you had Garza and Andrade attack the Street Profits, and then they quickly ran away before the Street Profits could get any payback. But what sense does this make at the end of the day? Someone tell me, what sense does that make at the end of the day? It makes no sense. You had the Street Profits beat these two last week, but then the week after, you have Garza and Andrade win a number one contenders match? What was the point of having the Street Profits win last week? You gave us the match last week. It makes no logical sense. No logical sense. It's like WWE's insulting our intelligence. Another logic gap. Another logic gap. What you're telling me, instead of giving us the Street Profits versus Garza and Andrade last week, you could have just gave us this number one contenders match. Could have gave us this number one contenders match last week, make Garza and Andrade the number one contenders, and then build towards the Street Profits and Garza and Andrade at SummerSlam. But no, you gave us the match last week. You had Garza and Andrade lose clean, and then you have them become number one contenders this week. Insulting our intelligence. Logic gap. And people wonder why the ratings are so bad. So bad. Edward Jones asks, what is an anti-hero? Basically, Stone Cold Steve Austin when he was a babyface. An anti-hero is someone who has babyface-like tendencies, but what they do isn't really meant to be a babyface. It's more like a tweener in a way. So basically, if you're looking for the best example of an anti-hero, Edward, just go watch Stone Cold Steve Austin's run back in the Attitude Era when he was a babyface. That's legit the definition of an anti-hero. All right, moving on. WWE with the logic gaps, man. Anyway, Seth Rollins comes out. Before this, he was confronted backstage by Buddy Murphy. But they came out. Basically, he talked about what he's done with Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black the last couple weeks. I'm still asking myself, what the fuck is the greater good? Still haven't got that answer. Still have not got that answer. Anyway, man. Basically, he talked about what he did to Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black. And he knew that Dominic was coming to confront him tonight. I don't know why. I said here for weeks, not a logic gap. I said here for weeks, Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins and Dominic, this storyline had so much potential, but they fucked it up. They fucked it up. At Extreme Rules, it should have been Dominic versus Seth Rollins. And then at SummerSlam, it should have been Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. Rey Mysterio trying to get his son out from under Seth Rollins' influence. It's like they're reverse engineering. It's like they're going backwards instead of frontwards. It seems like now WWE is building towards a Dominic and Seth Rollins match. I don't even know if Rey Mysterio is still with the WWE. Because like I said, last we saw of Rey, he got his eye taken out. Plus, you know, he was working under an expired WWE contract. So I don't even know if he's still technically working with the company. Logic gap. The feud's over. Seth Rollins finished what he did with Rey Mysterio at Extreme Rules. The feud's dead. It should be done. You decided to do Rollins versus Mysterio at Extreme Rules instead of doing what I said, doing Rollins versus Dominic. But now you want to do Rollins versus Dominic now. Why? What's done is done. Rollins took out Mysterio. It should be over now. I don't know. But Rollins kept talking about how he wanted things to be different with Dominic, and he said he didn't want violence. Dominic came out, and basically Rollins promised that he wouldn't do any harm to Dominic. So they spent like 2 minutes, Dominic slowly, making his way to the ring. Then Rollins offered to be Dominic's mentor, and he said he would answer any questions that Dominic had. But instead, Dominic never said anything. Dominic just ends up tackling Seth. And then Murphy basically came in. And it was a 2-on-1 beatdown of Dominic. They slammed into the barricade at the side of the announce table. And it looked like they were going to do the same thing that they did to Rey Mysterio by having Rollins and Murphy take out Dominic's eye. I'm so tired of this whole eye shit. Like the first couple times they did it fine, but now every single week. And yes, Edward, I do watch BCM Fly. He's one of my favorite. Him and JD from NY are the two main podcasts that I watch. I would say those two are probably motivation for this podcast. But basically, like I said, basically, I'm tired of this whole eye shit. Like Rollins trying to take people's eyes out. Like, it was good the first couple times. Now it's just not as cool anymore. They keep doing it the same week. They did it with Humberto. They did it with Aleister Black. They did it with Mysterio. They're doing it with Dominic. I'm done with it. It's not special anymore. But Rollins looked at the steel steps. It looks like he was gonna put Dominic's eye through the steps. But out of nowhere, before he could do it, Aleister Black comes. And remember, Aleister Black was attacked last week by Rollins and Murphy. He was selling the elbow injury, even though I thought it was his hand. So, logic gap. Now you have Black selling an elbow injury when Rollins and Murphy injured his hand last week. But you didn't expect me to remember that, right? Insulting my intelligence once again. WWE at its finest. There's been a freaking logic gap with every single segment on this show so far. Ridiculous. But basically, Murphy and Rollins beat Black down. And Rollins told Murphy, I actually didn't mind this. This was a change of pace. Rollins told Murphy that he knew what he had to do for the greater good. And Rollins grabbed Murphy and told Murphy, you need to do this. Murphy was very hesitant at first. But after encouragement from Rollins, Murphy ended up taking Black and putting his eye onto the string steps. It looked like he didn't do it all the way, but he did, do it to the point where Black was injured. But then Rollins and Murphy were going to do the same thing to Dominic, but Dominic found a candlestick and he unloaded on both men before the heels were sent running. So if I had to make a prediction right now, I feel like what's going to happen is it's going to be Dominic and Aleister Black versus Rollins and Murphy. And probably Rey Mysterio will get involved some way. And this will lead to the babyfaces getting their payback on Seth Rollins. That's probably what's going to happen. I'd rather take that than freaking Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins again. Or an Aleister Black versus Seth Rollins for like the 60th time. Someone named 24-Hour Gaming. Someone named 24-Hour Gaming says, fuck me, bro. fuck me. If you have a problem with anything I say on this podcast, I speak facts. If you have a problem with what I'm saying, you can leave. I don't need you here. We don't want you here. Like, you're to come in my chat and then fuck me, fuck you. I don't give a fuck about what you think. The hell? This is my podcast. You're choosing to watch my show. You can go fuck yourself and leave. I don't care. What the hell? Coming into my chat and think like I'm gonna be bothered with what you have to say. Please. Anyway, like I said, I think what's most likely, this is probably gonna lead to Seth Rollins and Murphy versus Black and Dominic, and probably with Rey Mysterio coming back and getting the ultimate payback on Rollins. That's what I think is gonna happen, and I'll take it over freaking Black versus Rollins or Kevin Owens versus Rollins or some shit like that. Like, don't waste my time. We had Mustafa Ali versus Bobby Lashley, but before we got this match, we had Ali on the MVP lounge. MVP was in the ring with Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. And, still, MVP still acting like he's the United States champion when he isn't. We're still waiting for Apollo Crews to get cleared. The report still is Apollo has COVID. I don't know. Anyway, basically, Ali came out. MVP was trying to recruit Ali to join the Hurt Business. By the way, I don't know what's going on with this whole Nation of Domination crap. Still don't know what's going on with that. But Mark Henry was backstage. Last week they had Ron Simmons. This week they had Mark Henry. Both members of the Nation of Domination. I don't expect to see The Rock next week, but it seems like WWE's teasing the Nation of Domination. I do like MVP, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin. I do like this stable. I just don't want to see them as the Nation of Domination. Let them do their own thing. Alright? Don't bring back an old stable name from back in the day to use in 2020. Stop. It's lazy and uncreative. Let them be their own group and define their own legacy. Okay? Anyway, back to this. The MVP tried to recruit Mustafa Ali to the Hurt Business. Ali made it clear that he had nothing to do. I'm happy that Ali is back, but clearly they've already buried Mustafa Ali tonight, and we'll get to that in just a sec. R-Truth tried to tackle Shelton Benjamin, attempted to get back the 24/7 championship, but he was unable to do it. He tried actually twice tonight. But clearly, R-Truth will get the title back at some point. That's the 24/7 title should be named the R-Truth title. They just released a T-shirt about R-Truth being 24/7 champion, so we know it's gonna happen. Anyway, but basically, this would lead to a match between Lashley and Ali. Honestly, I hate this because WWE's giving us Ali and Bobby Lashley on free TV. This could be a future United States Championship match. I feel like this match could have been saved for later down the line. Bobby Lashley has been great. He's been one of the best WWE has had during this pandemic era. And Mustafa Ali, you guys know how much I love him. I'm glad he's back, but he's already been buried. After a good match, Ali dominated this match. Ali was able to counter Lashley's Dominator, hit a beautiful tornado DDT. Like, Ali might have a better tornado DDT than frickin' what's his name? Johnny Gargano. But he went for a 450 splash. Lashley put him in the full Nelson. Ali tapped out right away. I thought what was going to happen is Ali would be close to getting the win. Right? He would probably hit the 450 splash on Lashley, but at that last moment, MVP and Shelton Benjamin, caused the DQ finish. But no. Ali's been back now for 1 week, and he's already been buried. Great. Absolutely great. You should be, Vince wants to go tell everyone, they want to build new stars, right? You want to build new stars in WWE. Yeah, right. New stars, my ass. It's fucking bullshit, bro. So bad. So bad. New stars, my ass. Ali loses, and he's only been back for 1 week. Yeah. Ali's gonna be in now. Ali's right back in the same boat as Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, Apollo Crews. Because once Apollo comes back, he'll lose the United States Championship, probably to Bobby Lashley. He's right in that crowd. Right in that crowd. Only been back a week. Already buried. Great fucking job, WWE. Great fucking job. Moving on. Humberto Carrillo came back versus Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy won. I didn't watch this match, to be honest, guys. Like I said, outside of Sasha Banks and Randy Orton tonight, this show was not that good. It was not that good. I didn't care about this at all. Humberto's a loser on WWE TV. Just like Ali's right in that same boat. Mustafa Ali's in that same boat with Humberto, with Cedric Alexander and Ricochet and Aleister Black. Baby faces that should be built as the future of this show, but are instead buried every single week. Buddy Murphy won with Murphy's Law, and that's it. Terrible. The match wasn't bad, but who gave a shit? Humberto loses again. Great. How many weeks was Humberto off of TV selling those injuries by Seth Rollins just so he could lose? Exactly my point. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler. We'll talk about Sasha Banks and Asuka in just a sec, but I want to get through the rest of the show. Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler. I'm not sure if this was for the championship or not. Like, at 1 second, WWE says this is for the WWE title. Then for another second, they're saying it's non-title. Who gives a fuck? The fact that this match was happening again made 0 sense. 0 cents. Dolph Ziggler, I said this last week. Dolph Ziggler should not have another WWE Championship match for the rest of his career. You don't go, I don't care. We all knew Drew was going to win, but I don't care. Dolph had no excuse to lose that match at Extreme Rules. No excuse. You had all the rules on your side. And hell, Drew McIntyre comes out, right, tonight. And guess what the stipulation is? It's an Extreme Rules match. So basically, you gave us a Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler rematch. For what reason, I don't know. But you gave us the rematch. And you didn't even give us a different stipulation. You gave us the same stipulation we had at Extreme Rules, right? The same stipulation we had at Extreme Rules. The only difference is Drew McIntyre could also have Extreme Rules. So Drew McIntyre could use weapons and do whatever the hell he wanted. I'm not going to talk about the match. The match was good, but who gives a shit? We all knew Drew was going to win. Because before the match, you had Drew cut a promo on Randy Orton, which was good. But we all knew Drew was going to win. Drew hit a Claymore kick that sent Dolph through the table. Dolph oversold the fuck out of it, but who cares? But McIntyre got the win. Bye-bye, Ziggler. Bye-bye. As great as Dolph Ziggler is, it's his fault for staying in WWE. It's his fault for letting himself be booked like a loser for all these years and remaining to stay with the company. I'll say the same thing I said last week on the podcast. Dolph Ziggler should not have another world title match for the rest of his career. I don't care if he wins the next 100 matches. He should not have another world title match for the rest of his career. Bye-bye. Hell, they'll probably have Dolph Ziggler join the Hurt Business next week. Watch. Anyway, as McIntyre celebrated, I knew what was about to happen. McIntyre got hit with an RKO out of nowhere. I knew this was going to happen. Randy Orton does it in almost every single feud. He starts off the feud by RKOing his opponent out of nowhere. Typical WWE logic. Absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. Getting over the Sasha Banks and Asuka. This match was great. At first, when I saw Bayley and Kairi Sane come out with both Sasha and Asuka, I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? This match is supposed to be nobody gets involved, right? The title can change hands anyway. By disqualification, count out, it doesn't matter. So I was like, why the fuck is Bayley and Kairi Sane out there? What happens is basically Kairi Sane chases off Bayley, leaving Sasha Banks and Asuka to fight in the ring. This was really good. It wasn't as good as their Extreme Rules match. All right, because that Extreme Rules match was on its way to being a match of the year candidate. But this match was great. It was fantastic. But I hated the commercials, and I hated well, no, that was it. That's all I really hated, the commercials. Plus, it seems like Sasha and Asuka, as great as they are, it seems like they were only going about 80% in this match. They weren't going as hard and as furious as they were at Extreme Rules. But still, Sasha Banks and Asuka, at 80% is better than almost the entire women's division. But still, they were still holding back. The main thing is Sasha and Asuka both attacked each other's legs. There was great selling, great storytelling. Sasha telling Asuka, I need to be the champion. Asuka telling Sasha, I'm the champion. I love this. The end of the match came when Asuka was trying to keep Sasha down. And there was great reversal. Sasha putting in the big statement, Asuka reversing it. There was great stuff. But Asuka took control, and she was trying to focus on Sasha. But Bayley, on the Titantron, is fighting Kairi Sane backstage. And we all knew this was Kairi Sane's last night in WWE. I just want to take a second really quick to thank Kairi Sane for everything she's done. All right, Kairi Sane is incredible. But, all right, I got to send a text really quickly. Anyway, basically, Asuka basically had Sasha in control. Bayley and Kairi Sane are fighting in the Titantron, and like I said, I want to take a sec to thank Kairi Sane for everything she's done. An incredible talent Kairi Sane is, and whatever she does in her future endeavors, great. I wish her all the best. I want to thank her for everything she did. I wish WWE would have booked her a little bit better, but still, she was a great superstar and a great person, based on what I heard backstage. But what happened is Bayley was beating up Kairi Sane, and you could tell this was the right Kairi Sane off TV permanently, since she's not going to be coming back. And basically, this distraction, as much as I love Asuka, they made Asuka look like a dumb idiot. Asuka was so conflicted about her best friend, being attacked by Bayley, that distraction by Bayley backstage led Asuka to leave in the ring, allowing herself to get counted out, and Sasha Banks winning the Raw Women's Championship based on the special rules for this match. So it made sense. I'm not mad at the ending. It's the right outcome. Sasha should have won this match, and Sasha's going to elevate the Raw Women's division going forward. You know this. Sasha Banks is the best female wrestler in the world. This was the right decision. And if you have a problem with Sasha Banks being Raw Women's Champion, you are a dumb retard. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. This was the right decision tonight. This was the right decision tonight. Sasha Banks is going to elevate that Raw Women's division and that Raw Women's Championship going forward. And the bigger storyline going forward is going to be Sasha Banks versus Bayley eventually. I don't care what anybody says. If you have a problem with Sasha Banks being Raw Women's Champion, then you are part of the problem with this community. I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck. It is facts. It is facts. This was the right outcome. I'm happy. I hope that it lasts. And like I said, later this week, we are going to make a video talking about how Sasha should be booked now as Raw Women's Champion and what you need to do going forward so that it elevates Sasha Banks, it elevates the Raw Women's Championship, and it elevates the women's division. Because that's what Sasha is going to do. All right? Other than that, guys, that's about it. I really don't have anything else to say. Outside of Sasha Banks and Asuka and Randy Orton, this show was not good. You know, Sasha Banks and Asuka might be the only thing that saves the ratings for this show. I don't know what the ratings gonna look like, but that might be the only thing that saves this show, honestly, because that was the main event. The main event was in the second hour. I don't know why they didn't just have it end the show, but whatever. I'm not complaining. Sasha's the Raw Women's Champion. I am happy. We're going to discuss later this week what you need to do with Sasha Banks going forward now that she is officially 2 belts Banks and officially the Raw Women's Champion. If you guys enjoyed the review, leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you guys are new. I'll see you guys later. Hopefully you guys enjoyed live tweeting with me tonight. Those of you guys that did. If you guys don't, follow me down on social media. The link to that is in the description. Thank you guys for the love and support. Leave a like on the video before you guys get out of here. I'll see you guys later. Stay safe and healthy, guys. Peace.